A little while ago, we showed off the HD PVR rocket from Hauppauge, and on that episode, I was pretty happy about it because, well, it's a little portable recording device that you can take anywhere and plug it up with a USB stick, and it's fantastic and awesome, and I really like it. But it only records at 1080p at 30 frames per second, which nowadays on YouTube really isn't making the grade because everybody out there is recording 1080p at 60 frames per second. And how are they doing it? Well, a lot of people out there are using the HD60 from Elgato. Well, I guess that really didn't sit well with the folks over at Hauppauge because they decided to make a brand new device called the HD PVR60, which is their old HD PVR model, but updated with a new metal finish, and it records 60 frames per second at 1080p. Is it as good as the Rocket or the Elgato HD60? Well, today we're gonna find out. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a big fan of the HD PVR Rocket because honestly, it's just a great little device to record stuff with. With the ability to hook up to your computer directly or a laptop, or just record straight to a USB stick, this thing has tons and tons of features. But being limited at 30 frames per second at 1080p makes this useless for a lot of functionality. So we went out and got the Elgato HD60, which is about the same size but lost all of those really cool features that the Rocket has, because this thing has to be plugged up directly to a computer, with its evil software that I just don't like. So when Hauppauge said that they created this, I was really happy, and a little confused when it came in the mail, cause it's a lot bigger. I mean, a lot bigger. I really don't know why it has to be so big, but there it is. But once again, this thing lost all the features that the HD PVR Rocket had with all of its really cool portability options. But you do get 60 frames at 1080p, so that's kind of okay, I guess. We decided to take all three of the recording devices we had and pit them against each other in a battle royale. And well, the first thing we did was look at the HD60 and the HD PVR60 just to see what the difference was between them. And guess what? There isn't one. They look exactly the same. There is absolutely no difference between the two devices. As far as I can tell, they're using the exact same codec, the exact same everything. The quality was completely interchangeable. The only difference between the two devices is, well, with the HD PVR60, you have a little button on the top so you can actually record things, and with the Elgato HD60, you have a separate audio in wire if you need to use that. And I've never used it, so, you know, that's for people out there that want to record separate audio with their footage for whatever reason. But if you're gonna pick one or the other, just go for the one that's cheaper at the time. Now for this next part, we're going to show the difference between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. You're going to want to click the little gear icon on this little YouTube video right now and pick one of the resolutions that has 60 beside it, which is basically telling you that's 60 frames per second. Now once you've got that going, check this out. Now right here you can see footage being played from the HD PVR Rocket and the HD PVR60, but if you look really close, you'll notice that the HD PVR60 is kind of washed out. It doesn't have deeper and richer blacks and more vibrant colors like you're seeing in the HD PVR Rocket, and I compared it against the HD60 from Elgato, and it was the exact same story. So here's what I think's going on. The HD60 and the HD PVR60 are kind of squeezing down some older form of recording technology that basically tries to cram 60 frames into whatever it was that they were originally using for 30 frames per second. And basically what that means is the quality of these images are going to be a little bit lower. Now they're not super crazy lower, and you can modify them after the fact if you have editing software that is capable of doing that. But basically what I could tell was, well, it wasn't as high quality as the HD PVR Rocket, and that was kind of interesting. On this sequence right here for Perfect Dark on the HD PVR Rocket, you can see a pretty clear image. But if you look at the HD PVR60's recording, you can see some digital distortion happening from its codec. Now to be fair, all the footage we're showing you records so fast that you really don't pay attention to every individual frame. But the moment you pause a frame, you can see a little bit of distortion when it comes to the HD PVR60 and the Elgato HD60. And the Rocket just seems to be higher quality overall. Well, that's kind of the way that works, and if you're okay with that, then that's fine. But if you want something that's a little bit higher quality, you might be better off sticking with the HD PVR Rocket. Unless you want to record at 30 frames per second on one of those really big devices, which you can if you want, but you might save a couple bucks if you just go with the Rocket. So, would I recommend the Hauppauge HD PVR60? Yes I would, and there's a good reason too. Now to begin with, I like the idea that I can have this right in front of me while I'm right in front of my console and push the recording button and start recording footage right away. With the Elgato HD60, you have to get up, go to your computer, press record, and it's a whole fun little bit of crap. With the Elgato HD60 software, it also kind of works a little bit slower. When you're recording footage, it has to convert it after the fact, and it just kind of sucks. With the Hauppauge software, it works a lot better and seems to be a lot more stable, at least in my instances that I've used it. So that's why I prefer this thing compared to that. Even though it's a little bit bigger, it just seems to run a heck of a lot better. And the quality for both devices is the same, so if that's the only reason that you'd have to choose between one or the other, go with the software that you like more. Personally, this one wins out. Another thing I'm not a big fan of though, that I really wish they would have done with this device, is there is no component in. It's only HDMI in and HDMI out, and it's powered by USB, and that's it. I really wish that this thing had a component so we could get component video in from PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3 or any of the older video game systems, but that's not what this is for. It's for recording modern video game systems with HDMI in. Sure, you can upscale old video game consoles to HD, but I've never found a really great method to do that, and they always end up looking a little bit blurry and stuff. The HD PVR Rocket was so much better at running a bunch of old systems, and I just wish this one did as well, but I guess that's not what it's for. So if you're looking for 60 frames per second recording on modern video game systems, this might be the way to go.